The best healthcare is there in ways big and small. There when we most and least expect it. We may not see it, but we feel it. It lets us know we're not in this alone. Everyone deserves a healthcare partner who never quits. One who's there for what matters. United Healthcare. There for what matters.
Hey, I'm Charlie. I really enjoy Ramsey County's Household Hazardous Waste program. They make it really accessible with their drop-off options, and they send out postcards every once in a while with helpful information. I drop off my household hazardous waste at the Bay West site. I like to let items in my home collect so I can bring a larger haul just a few times a year. I always tell people to check the website before they go. Chances are you haven't thought of all of the items that you can recycle, like batteries. When I recycle, I feel like I'm doing my part to minimize my carbon footprint, and it's easy and accessible to do so.
Before she became an autism advocate and mom of 4, Sheletta Brundage was an Emmy Award-winning comedian. Need something to put a smile in your face? Laughing with Letta is sure to tickle your funny bone. Check it out, but pee first and make sure you ain't drinking nothing when Sheletta's on a roll. That way you won't have anything to clean up when the podcast is over.
I tell y'all what, when I look back over the time that I spent at my grandmother's house in the summertime, it would seem magical. It just seemed like it was just such an amazing time. It seemed like everything was so wonderful, and we had just had the best time. And I realize now that, it's really not the case, especially with summer coming up. And we got to think about what we're going to do on vacation with these kids, and how we're going to keep them engaged and safe when they're not in school. Safe for us back when we were kids is totally different than safe now. And especially for me, because I have children with special needs. And I only know a couple of people that I trust to get advice on how to keep my kids and our kids safe. And that's Brandon Jones. He has a podcast on this network called It's Not Your Fault, that you listen to and love. And if you haven't, you have got to check it out. He's also the executive director of the Minnesota Association of Children's Mental Health. He's a girl dad. He and his wife have 3 beautiful daughters. And Brandon, I just want to bring you on in here because, when I was thinking about summer vacation with my kids, I did a lot of idealizing of
Mhm.
what the summers were like and how exciting it was. But my kids, they live with a little anxiety. They're like
Yeah.
going through the flyer for summer programs in South Washington County, circling and highlighting, and then they come back and want to know if I paid for it because they don't want the classes to fill up before they get their
Yep.
first selection. It's real for them, Brandon.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, we have the same concern in our household as well. This summer we decided to do summer camp,
Hmm.
and we waited like literally 48 hours trying to figure out which one to do, and it was already too late. They were all filled up. So my kids will be participating in what's called Kids Club through their school, which
Okay.
they've done before.
Hmm.
And if I'm honest, they don't love it, but they will tolerate it. So,
Right.
so,
Right.
so the deal with them is, well, on the weekends we're gonna try extra hard to do other activities to make up for some of the displeasure you have in kids club. But that's very different than how you grew up. That's very different than how I grew up, where in our household we
Right.
try to give a little bit of agency to our children. Sometimes
Yeah.
that makes
Yeah.
the elders in my family and some of my family members look at us like we're crazy, but
Yes.
it has paid off where our children have a little bit more of a mature response to some of the bigger life things that do happen, because they feel like they are a part of the family and not just an accessory. And
Mhm.
that's an important feature and factor that I think we're seeing with a lot of kids, where they don't have a lot of voice and choice, and
Mhm.
unfortunately they're
Mhm.
responding in various different ways. You talked about how you remember growing up going to your grandmother's house. I have the same feelings. A lot of my childhood memories that are positive are me playing over the summer at my grandma's house, being in the yard, smelling the
Yeah.
fresh cut grass, listening to the wind chimes. listening to people arguing,
Right,
all types of stuff
right.
happening, music playing, smelling barbecue from down the street. Like those are all important
Mhm.
things. And unfortunately, today our kids don't always have that experience because a lot of them are inside. The
Yeah.
devices have a huge hook on them, whether it's the iPad or the television or the video games or whatnot. A lot
Mhm.
of our kids are indoors if they're not engaged in activities or camps. So we have an interesting dynamic at play currently with our children.
Now, how has COVID factored into that? What's the long-term impact of COVID-19 on our kids?
Yeah, I think that it's kind of delayed some of the social factors of our kids, the social engagement, the social dynamics, and the social cues that kids need to understand how to interact as human beings. And we've already known that they're running into this concern just due to technology, and then we
Mhm.
have this pandemic that brings a health scare and brings a re-socializing of kids where distance and isolation is encouraged and even sometimes mandatory. So we have kids, especially in those transitional years from 4 to 5 and 6, from 10, 11, and 12, from 14 to 15, where they're transitioning either into elementary, into middle school, into high school,
Mhm.
even into
Mhm.
college, where a lot of those kids spends a significant amount of the time of those transitional years inside and on devices and on screens, which again, they're already accustomed to doing because this is the world that they were born into. But
Right.
what the pandemic did was it solidified that that's your place. You're supposed to be there. So now that we're on the flip side of that, and we're telling these kids, hey, go out and engage with your friends, go play, go ride
Mhm.
a bike, skateboard. I see a lot of kids doing those things by themselves. I'm
By
like,
themselves.
yeah, it's like
Mm.
one kid riding a bike. Like, what is going on? One kid
Right.
skateboarding. Even my daughter, my 8-year-old, she actually prefers to play by herself outside. She
Mm.
talks to herself out there. She has little,
She like, "Look, there's
she's
no
just in her
drama
own
out
world.
here.
Yeah,
I'm in my own world.
yeah,
I'm minding my own business."
and
But
that's
but
from the
Brandon,
pandemic.
but that's what I was gonna say. When I think of everything that happened during the pandemic, the lessons all seem bad. It just all seems like there's something bad. Do we get anything good for kids and their mental health during the pandemic other than what I would say is create awareness? Because nobody ever talked about like these kids and what they were going through and how they were feeling until the
Yeah,
pandemic happened. That's the only good thing I could think of.
yeah,
Is there anything?
it is a plus.
Is there anything else that you can think of that's a plus that occurred during the pandemic for these
Absolutely.
kids?
I think to add on to the awareness piece, this just a level of comfort around mental health and emotional health is a plus. For so long, people
Mm,
were ashamed to even mention it.
yeah.
Especially you don't want to tell somebody your kid's dealing with depression or suicidality or any of those types of things, suicidal
Mhm.
ideations. But now it's a little bit the stigma I think has been reduced in that aspect where people feel a little bit more comfortable saying it. You'll be surprised how many people I talk to and they're like, "Oh yeah, I talked to my therapist about that." Like I would never hear someone just outrightly say
Not even 5
that they
years
had
ago.
yeah conversation with their therapist. And these are not just kids; these are adults who are saying these things too.
Yeah.
So adults are modeling that going to talk to a professional about what's going on is a positive, and that is a positive reaction and response to the pandemic.
Well, Brandon, I just can't thank you enough for being on the show. I have to ask you before you go because I'm always trying to be a better parent, and I know it starts with good communication. And as we go into these summer months, knowing some of the setbacks that our kids have had during the pandemic on their emotional and mental health. Give me at least one tip that could help us have a good, productive, and healthy summer.
Literacy. Read with your
Mm,
children, all age
okay.
levels,
Okay.
and once you're done with the book, ask them what they liked about it, what they didn't like about it, what did it mean to them? Did they identify with any of the characters? I know it takes time and it may be annoying to a lot of parents and caregivers, but it is very important, especially in homes of kids of color and families of color. Our kids' literacy rates are in a very scary place. And some of them maybe, let's be honest, maybe because the parents and caregivers aren't that great of readers either, but
Yes.
this could be a concerted effort to try.
Mhm.
And if you do have a child that struggles with their reading, definitely try to find some academic programming that can assist with that, because over the summer months, that's when we see that gap in academics really show up,
Mm.
where the kids aren't learning as much as they do during school, and then they start a new fresh school year, and sometimes they can slip behind. So
Okay.
I
Okay.
recommend at the very least 2 books a week. That may be too much for some families. 1 book a week, and it doesn't have to be a chapter book. It can just be something
But just some
simple.
kind of reading.
Yeah, but
Some kind of
definitely
reading.
read. Shalette, you have a series of books. I read those with my daughters all the time. They have
Oh,
some of their
thank
favorites.
you.
And we talk about each character. What did you think about that character this time? I mean, even sometimes we read some books and when they're not good. And we're like, why didn't you like this book? Yeah, this book was trash. Though that's what the kids say.
Right, right,
And if they
right.
like it, that book was busting. So that's how they identify if the book was good or bad. But the important piece is having some intentionality about engaging them in what they're reading, building that comprehension, and then also building that familiarity that this can be a family thing at the same time.
All right, Brandon. Well, I just can't thank you enough. Make sure you get over to Brandon's podcast. It's Not Your Fault on Apple and Spotify and YouTube or wherever you get your podcast. Thank you so much for joining the show.
Absolutely. Thank you again for having me.
All right. And thank y'all for being here. As always, I laugh and joke, but I don't play when it comes to our kids. We'll see you next week.
That girl is crazy in a good way. To check out previous episodes, log on to her website, SheLettaMakesMeLaugh.com. You can also check out where she's appearing next and score cool merch.
It's not just another day in your life. Things are changing for the better. At Comcast, we see those changes, and we're thinking about how we use technology today to live, work, learn, and play. And we're building for the future now, so we're better prepared for the wants and needs of tomorrow. That's why Comcast is rolling out multi-gig internet speeds to more than 50 million homes and businesses before the end of 2025, making our already industry-leading network even faster, smarter, greener, and more reliable. Over the decades, Comcast has been your partner, working hard to serve your community, and will continue to be your partner. We're expanding our gigabits so you can enjoy the tiny bits that matter most.
You know Sheletta makes you laugh, but did you know Sheletta Brundage can also make you think and boost your business? Media personality, activist, and comedian Sheletta Brundage founded Sheletta Makes Me Laugh to celebrate and share the best of Black culture. It's a podcasting platform. You can download 10 weekly podcasts hosted by African American subject experts at ShelettaMakesMeLaugh.com or wherever you find your favorite podcasts. ShelettaMakesMeLaugh.com is also a production house, creating broadcast quality commercial content. And Sheletta and her team of storytellers create powerful promotional campaigns to get businesses the brand awareness they're looking for. Some of Minnesota's top businesses trust Sheletta, and you can too. Get out the word about your events and products and get in front of communities of color with ShelettaMakesMeLaugh.com. She's got the power to help your business.
Are you a woman known as a good listener? Do you have skills in de-escalating situations? Are you what they call a people person? Then the Minneapolis Police Department would like to meet you. Now in a rebuilding phase, the Minneapolis Police Department is recruiting more women to wear the badge. The department offers career options for women with a high school diploma or GED. There are also opportunities for women with 2- and 4-year degrees who are ready to apply their skills in new ways. Police work makes a great second career for social workers, teachers, nurses. Women in their 30s and 40s are welcome to apply. There's no age cap. You'll be paid while you train and mentored by veteran women officers invested in your success. Minneapolis also welcomes current police officers to join the state's largest department. Make a difference on the streets, working in your community, in a career with competitive salaries and generous benefits. Go to minneapolismn.gov and search police jobs to find out more.
Hi, I'm Sheletta Brundage. I'm a media personality, podcaster, and a business owner. But my most important role is mom. 3 of my beautiful kids have been diagnosed with autism spectrum disorder. When I didn't know who to trust or where to turn, I found ACRA. ACRA provides home care services to families all over Minnesota. The care is not one size fits all. They know each one of my kids is unique. They listen to what resources we needed and what's best for our family. I've seen my kids grow and thrive with ACRA's in-home care. While autism is the most common diagnosis among ACRA clients, ACRA offers personalized in-home care services for people with disabilities, chronic illnesses, behavioral diagnosis, and mental illness. They work with children, adolescents, and older folks too. Find out more about ACRA at their website, acrahomecare.org. ACRA helps me provide my kids with a better quality of life. They can do it for your family too.
Here's a reminder. COVID-19 is a disease caused by coronavirus germs that pass easily from one person to another. Symptoms may show up 2 days or 2 weeks after you are already around someone with COVID-19. COVID-19 affects the nose and throat and sometimes affects the lungs, making it hard to breathe normally. Symptoms of COVID-19 can include fever, chills, cough, headache, muscle pain, sore throat, fatigue, or loss of taste or smell. Stomach symptoms like nausea, vomiting, or diarrhea can occur but are less common. And some people with COVID-19 will not have any symptoms. Even after recovering from COVID-19, fatigue, cough, or joint pain continues for some people. If you have symptoms, get tested. Talk to your healthcare provider with questions or concerns about symptoms. And remember, getting vaccinated is one of the best things you can do to protect yourself from COVID-19.
Are you getting older and feeling concerned about staying safely in your own home? Or maybe it's your folks you're worried about. I get it. It's not easy getting older, especially when the house is starting to show its age too. There is help available.
Individuals want to maintain and stay in their own homes for as long as they can. In Rebuilding Together Minnesota, we provide the opportunity, we provide the programs for them to do that.
Rebuilding Together Minnesota has been helping eligible older Minnesotans and those with disabilities stay safe and healthy for more than 20 years.
Our central AC unit was non-functional. We had plugged a portable unit in to the living room. What ended up happening was our electrical outlet melted, and it was getting to be 90 degrees in here. Meyer was told about Rebuilding Together Minnesota by his daughter.
She said, well, Daddy, you need to sign up. I said, do I qualify? She said, well, you're a disabled veteran. You qualify.
So we provided a new air conditioning unit for the homeowner and also new electrical service, all through this veterans program that we have.
Thanks to Tom and Rebuilding Together Minnesota, we're able to maybe go out and get a hamburger every now and then.
To find out if you qualify, go to rtmn.org. That's RTMN for Rebuilding Together Minnesota. Or if it's easier, call 651-776-4273 and tell your friends. Trust me, this is news they can use.
If you live in an older home, it may contain lead-based paint on walls, woodwork, and windows. Even more bad news, lead exposure can be dangerous to young children and impact their brain development. And now, the good news. Hennepin County will fix lead hazards in your home at no cost to you.
We were worried because of the paint in the windows in the bedroom. They were peeling and chipping, and we know that when paint peels and chips, and it looks a certain way, that's possibly lead. We were worried for our children more so than anything.
Eligible homes can qualify for up to $15,000 in upgrades. You may even qualify for new energy-efficient windows. Don't worry, Hennepin County has a trusted list of pre-approved contractors. You won't even have to find companies with correct licenses or certifications.
I've just done a test and it's positive. So we know that this is lead-based paint, and then we know it's a hazard because it's creating dust every time this window moves and opens. And if you look in here, that's just full of lead paint chips.
You won't have to stay with your cousin while you're getting the lead out. Hennepin County even pays for you and your family to stay in a hotel while the work is underway. The last good news is how easy it is to apply. Just go to hennepin.us/lead control to get started.
I'm really happy with the program. We can go to bed knowing that our children are safe.
That's hennepin.us/lead control. Tell your friends about it.